Hmm. Well, hello. It's Monday night. Well, it's Tuesday morning, 12:37. So proud of America, who was out there this Saturday, and that's what we needed. If you are still with Believe in Haichu, still believe in Trump, I just don't know what to tell you. If you've not kept up with what the news is, I think it was just 4 days ago, 400,000 people were fired. Now, come on. My quote of numbers, I'm not 100% sure, but I know it was maybe it was 40,000, excuse me. Let's just even say 40,000. That's not counting the other ones. He's been in office, 70 some days. Okay, people. Someone better come up with an idea to get this man out of here before we do not have a country. We need it. We need everybody to pay attention. Hi, Shirley. It's just, I was just watching Rachel Mead and all the protests that went through all the United States. Yes, Trump sucks. You know what? There is going to be no place for us. Yes, stop him. And here's the thing. He wants to change sorry, my hair's bothering me. He wants to change our Constitution. How about if we go and make a bill to change his part of things? How about making a bill to take his immunity away? Or how about, yep, Canada is not for sale. No other country should be for sale unless they want to be. And Brian brought out a very good point. And he's doing this to see what all these people back down is. Yep, you're right. He's doing all this threatening to all these turfs and that for all to see what every country is willing to give him to cut it out. I mean, he has lawyers already, so he don't get harassed by Trump. Has been filing claims against lawyers, police, FBI, you name it. You name and everything that these people who have farms and that. Yes, he is. I'm sorry, he's a fat man. He's not little. I mean, his little thing is little, but he's a fat man. Am I discriminating? Nope. See the belly out there? That's all the proof. That's all fat. That is what is underneath there. That is not muscle. That is not anything but a gel belt of fat. Let's see if we put a candle on here, put it in there. I wonder how long it would last. Okay. I'm going to look up for Brian because he said it. Yeah, fat pig man. he did say it correctly of how Trump is doing this, what he is doing. He knows what he's doing. He's taking bribes from other countries, guys. Other countries. He's taking bribes straight out. Now, remember right after the rainstorm, the fire in California, him go and say, well, we got them under the thumb. They need grants and that. Now, come on. You don't have the right to say if they get it or not. Congress does. But you will make a deal just to make sure these people pay. I wasn't going to do this on Trump and that, but you know what? I've been sitting back and I've been thinking about it. And I am pleased that America is waking up. I am pleased to all hell. People say I'm not the smartest. That I am. I'm not very intelligent. I have had so many strokes that I can't even talk right anymore. However, the mind still works from right from wrong. And all we need to do now is get together and oust him. Oust him out of his chair. And we'll have to start with the president, the vice president, and head speaker. And go for Supreme Court for allowing all this. Supreme Court is not protecting us. Did not protect anyone. I don't know about you, but now Trump wants all the states to fend for themselves. Okay, so does that mean we don't have to send you our federal money, that we collect? You mean all the money that stays, we make here in our jobs and that? Do we get to keep all that money? Then nothing will go to you because you just want to make America a business. Yes, there is some business ties to this, but we are not a business. We are a country of loving people, caring people. I'll tell you what, Rachel Mead was saying about even other countries joined hands off. Other countries are with us. Hands off. We need to hands off him out the door because, stop and think of how much money goes from Washington to fly to Washington down to Florida. $45,000, if not more. And that is not including all the Secret Service and all the people that have to be there. $45,000 it costs one way. So let's see. We're trying to find the loopholes in all that money, waste money. Trump, stay in Washington. You don't need to be out there on golfing. We didn't pay. I didn't vote for you, but Those people that did not pay for you to go and have a good time of golfing. Why aren't you doing something for our stock market that you crashed? You wanted it to crash. You'd still want it crashed. So everybody can go and give you what you want. You ask each country what they want, what you want. You take bribes straight out. Well, go straight out the door. Go straight out of the White House and get the fuck out of here and go to Russia. That's how I feel. That's how I believe in. And honestly, if I was part of your Secret Service and I seen someone up there with the rifle, I'll step back and say, hey, there you go. Oh, I had to stretch. Ah. Or wait a minute, let me turn my face so you can, yeah. I would not protect you. Never. Never. And you know what? You can lock me up all you want. I'm old. I don't care. But that's how you are. You think you are a king. You think you are the most important person in the world. Sorry to say you're not. You're not. For those who are still here on YouTube and you know who you are, like Mrs. T and them, who still believe in Trump, I don't know. Do you know anybody that got fired? I love. Okay. Oh, thank you, Shirley. Mrs. T's acting like I need her attention. I don't need her attention. I just want to prove to her and say, there you go. That's how dumb you are. That is the person you're still wanting, thinking that he's going to do things for you. He's going to change it all around. He's going to break us whole government out. For all you who voted for Trump, you are folks. I often wonder where you got your brains from right and from wrong. No. That is mine. And that is my own opinion. But if I was at a place, honk, if you agree, well, I don't got a honk, but hey, there's a bell. Do you understand, people? Listen to the bell. Go back to school and learn what he is doing. So I'm going to go over and see if I can find hers first. Or his. Let's see. Okay, let me see. Oh, there we go. Let me get this note. Okay. Found it. Okay, guys, and present. We're going to play Rachel Mead. So you can see what out there, what real Americans do, who care about our society. I'm trying to locate the thing to make it big, but it's not going to work. Okay, there we go. At the screen. Let me get over there again. See if I can get it to make it bigger. I don't know why it's not let me make it big. But okay, let's play this.
One of the consequences of these
Wait a
people
minute.
turning out.
1 second. Let me get you back here. Oh. Let's see if it'll play. No, I don't have it on play.
There's 750 people, maybe 1,000. It's grown. You can see really, like you said, as it's laid out, as how many people are here marching. You brought your family here today. Why was it important for you all to be here?
Just like I said before, we're all here. This is my nephew, and he's about the same age as that third grader. I wouldn't want to see my nephew in. Oh,
you can see just how windy it is out here. Yeah.
This is Sackett's Harbor, New York. Sackett's Harbor is way up on the shore of Lake Ontario in sort of northwestern New York. It's not that far from the Canadian border. And about a week and a half ago, immigration agents went to Sackett's Harbor, New York, and they took 3 kids and their mom, third grader, a 10th grader, and 11th grader. 3 kids and their mom, they took them from Sackett's Harbor and they flew them to Texas. And this mom and her 3 kids have been in some kind of immigration prison ever since. Yes, including the third grader. The population of Sackett's Harbor, New York is about 1,300 people. But as you saw that local reporter say there were about 1,000 people of the 1,300 people in the town who showed up this Saturday to march in Sackett's Harbor and to demand the return of that mom and her kids. This is from WWNY local channel 7, which covered the march, noting the children were students in the Sackett's Harbor School District. At this rally on Saturday calling for the return of the family, demonstrators carried American flags and signs saying things like, "Hands off our kids," and "Return the children." It was the local Democratic Party in Jefferson County, New York, that organized this rally. We've also seen the Democratic Governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, also getting involved in this case. She put out a statement saying she, quote, "cannot think of any public safety justification for ICE agents to rip an innocent family, including a child in the third grade, from their Sackett's Harbor home." She says, quote, "That is not the immigration enforcement promised to the American people. It is just plain cruel. I want this family returned to New York State and believe ICE needs to immediately answer for these actions." The principal at Sackett's Harbor Central School marched in Saturday's rally. She said she was there just representing herself, not representing the school, not representing any union. But she said, quote, "We graduate only about 40 students per year at our school. So we know every face, we know every personality, and we are missing them. And I think what Sackett's Harbor shows," she says, "is that when you rely on your community and you remember that your neighbors love you and your classmates love you and the teachers are going to be there for you, they're always going to stand up and say, I will show up for you. I will rally for you. I think that's how we get through this." She said that again at that march. Again, that was 1,000 people out of a town of 1,300 people. That was on Saturday. And now today, Monday, the school district made this announcement, quote, "We are relieved and grateful to share that after 11 days of uncertainty, our students and their mother are returning home. We remain committed to providing the care, understanding, and sensitivity necessary for all students and staff as we begin the healing process from this traumatic experience. In the midst of this difficult time, the strength, compassion, and resilience of our community have shown through. We're very thankful to everyone who has reached out with kindness and offered support." Wow. If only we all lived in places like this, right? Where people were willing to come out and show up and make themselves heard for us when we needed help. Oh, wait, we do. We do. All over the country, it turns out we do live in just those places. These are some of the more than 1,400 protests that took place this weekend protesting the actions of the Trump administration. I mean, this is me showing you 20 of them all at once. I could show you 20 at once for this entire hour, and we still wouldn't get through all of them. If you follow me on Blue Sky, I posted footage from hundreds of different protests that all took place this weekend on Saturday. But just looking at this 20, let me tell you what you're looking at here. Starting at the top, going left to right, and then top to bottom, upper left-hand corner, that's Atlanta, Georgia. Police estimated at least 20,000 people turned out in Atlanta, Georgia. Los Angeles, where the LA Times said the number was easily in the tens of thousands, the crowd may have reached 100,000 in Los Angeles alone. Another huge one in Seattle, minimum estimates there, maybe 14,000 people, but just keep going. Huntsville, Alabama, Portland, Oregon, Davenport, Iowa, Charlotte, North Carolina, Green Bay, Wisconsin, Lansing, Michigan, Palm Beach, Florida, Phoenix, Arizona had a huge one. Providence, Rhode Island, Salt Lake City, Utah was huge. Austin, Texas, Buffalo, New York, Columbia, South Carolina, Indianapolis, Indiana was massive. Sacramento, California, another huge one. Detroit, Michigan, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I mean, that's 20 of, again, more than 1,400. Here's 20 more. Again, left to right, top to bottom. Upper left-hand corner, that's Baltimore, Maryland. Then go left to right, across the top, and then we'll go down. Baltimore, Maryland is the upper left, then Pittsburgh, PA, Tampa Bay, Florida, Helena, Montana, Rapid City, South Dakota. Washington, D.C., the crowd was estimated at 100,000 people plus. Chicago, Illinois is next to D.C. there. The crowd estimate there was even larger than it was in Washington. Denver, Colorado, Tulsa, Oklahoma, New York City, where it was said to be easily 100,000 people, Honolulu, Hawaii, Boston, Massachusetts. Local press reports also cited nearly 100,000 people on Boston Common. And I'll tell you, the letters to the editor page today at the Boston Globe is full of people outraged that the Globe didn't give the event better coverage, given how huge it was in Boston. Then we've got Dallas, Texas, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Hartford, Connecticut, St. Paul, Minnesota. That was a massive turnout at St. Paul, Minnesota, at the state capitol. And then the last two there, Savannah, Georgia, and Cincinnati, Ohio. It was cold and rainy enough in Joplin, Missouri, that people put their signs in plastic bags. And if they didn't bring their mittens, they put their socks on their hands to try to keep warm while they held their signs. It rained like the dickens as well in northeast Louisiana, but that wasn't enough to keep people at home. They just held their umbrellas and their signs. In Terre Haute, Indiana, people just made space for all the umbrellas and smiled through it. They hung tough through the rain. In deep red Naples, Florida, organizers there say they had 7,000 people turn out in Naples, Florida. And yeah, that's good weather, so I know, but that's also a county that went for Trump by 33 points in November. And they had 7,000 people turn out on Saturday. Detroit, Michigan, when people came out, they waved across the river to Windsor, Ontario, where protesting Canadians waved right back. People protested in Dillingham, Alaska, on Bristol Bay. People protested at the end of the Iditarod sled dog race in Nome, Alaska. People woke up there Saturday morning to a balmy 0 degrees Fahrenheit, but still people got out in Nome, Alaska to go say their piece. Look at the people turning out in Chagrin Falls, Ohio. Look at the people turning out in El Paso, Texas. In Pittsfield, Massachusetts, 2,000 people turned out in the drenching rain. Green Bay, Wisconsin had a really big crowd. Look at that. Look at Statesboro, Georgia. So many people turning out in so many red states. Look at this is Gulfport, Mississippi. Gulfport, Mississippi, they marched with a big Trump sucks banner. Helena, Montana had a really big crowd. So did Knoxville, Tennessee. So did Northwoods, Wisconsin. I don't know if you watched the show on Friday night, but you might remember we had this group of older ladies in New Jersey. It's just a friend group in New Jersey who sent us pictures on Friday of them getting ready to protest this weekend. Again, this is a friend group for which the average age is 90. I've got 2 updates for you on that. First of all, they absolutely did get out and protest this weekend. Again, average age 90 in this group. You see some of them with their wheelchairs and or at least, excuse me, their walkers there. But also, I had guessed on Friday's show that the lady who was making the Dump Trump sign, see on the back of the table there, on the back on the right, though I had guessed when we showed this picture on Friday night that the lady making the Dump Trump sign with the legs sticking out of the trash can, I had guessed she must have been an artist or an art teacher. Turns out I was right. She is a retired art teacher. And she, in fact, got out there this weekend with gusto.
I am here to protest Trump's programs. They are hurting us. They are hurting our children. And before long, they will hurt the country. So we have to dump Trump.
You know, the thing I most want to be when I grow up is an old person. And boy, am I getting there fast. But there were a lot of people out there this weekend who are beating me to it. And it was one of the most inspiring things about everything you saw this weekend. On the left side of your screen here, that's Montrose, Colorado. Hands off, one depression was enough. On the right side of your screen, that's Madison, Wisconsin. We 100-year-olds see no future with Trump. On the left side of your screen, that's Harrisonburg, Virginia. Hands off Medicaid. On the right side of your screen, that's Houston, Texas. This old lady is pissed and fighting for our Constitution. In Newtown, Connecticut, 2 canes and a quote from Senator Cory Booker's marathon filibuster this past week. This is a moral moment. In Grand Rapids, Michigan, they had a special protest just for seniors that you see on the left side of your screen there that was separate and apart from the thousands of people who flooded into downtown Grand Rapids for the big protest there. Grand Rapids, not big enough to hold just one protest, one for seniors and one for a huge number of people in the downtown. In Flagstaff, Arizona, we had Good Dog, Good Trouble. And in Huntsville, Alabama, and lots of other places, we had Dogs Against Doge. In Los Angeles, we had some signs that made me really strongly want to know the backstory. On the left, you see here, you know times are bad if you partner with your ex-husband to protest. And you know times are bad if you partner with your ex-wife to protest. These two apparently were married for 30 years. They are obviously amicably split up now, but back together this weekend to protest the Trump administration. Also in Los Angeles this weekend, I don't want to know the backstory to I Bite Fascists.
I'll have
just
to
assume that's
check that out.
We saw this, Penguins Against Fascism. This was also Los Angeles. No tariffs, no tyrants, just krill. This is a protest sign we saw several different places this weekend. This is Riverside, California. Honk if you've never drunk texted war plans. We also saw variants of this calling back to one of the ugliest moments in the presidential campaign. They're eating the checks. They're eating the balances. They're devouring our democracy. This was San Jose, California. This was a good one from Newark, Delaware. Do not panic. Organize. A special one there for college campuses and law firms. We saw a lot of signs along this very scary general theme. This was from Washington, D.C. this weekend. Resist like it's 1938 Germany. Also from Washington, don't like surprises? Protect Noah, with the tornado imagery there. This was West Palm Beach, Florida, one of many, many signs and flags that we saw in support of Ukraine this weekend. These were signs from Atlanta, Georgia, which of course is home to the CDC. Markets down, measles up, fight for America. Hands off my earned Social Security. Hands off disability rights. Also, this one's nice. Mild-mannered church lady against oligarchy. In Honolulu, fascism is bad, says history. I can't sing, but here's one you can sing from Des Moines, Iowa. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious POTUS. We believe your fascist dream is something quite atrocious. We'll resist the oligarchs and always work for justice. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious POTUS. I cannot tell you how many times I had to practice that. Whew! Let's end the show right now. From a hot daytime protest in Baton Rouge, Louisiana on Saturday. You see on the right there, Bad Doge with a squirt bottle with the water in it, off. Bad Doge. And then you see resist the criminal and his little Doge too.
Hi, boss.
In Boston, courage is contagious, with rage colored in on courage. Stand up now or bow down later. Also, Boston rejects tyranny. Fair point there.
Thank you.
In Lansing, Michigan, this is the government our founders warned us about. In Novi, Michigan, they had great signs in Novi, Michigan. It's a hard no on being Russia 2.0. And my dad taught me to stand up to bullies. And this is a good one. I'm a really mad scientist. In Tupelo, Mississippi, President Musk must go. And no kings in America. In Omaha, Nebraska, look, they lined both the bridge here, the overpass bridge here, and both sides of the street. You see all the people here in Omaha? And the big sign there, better together. In New York City, let them eat Teslas. Also, some of the many penguins against tariffs, these ones in cute sweaters. In Columbia, South Carolina, we tariffed penguins, but not Russia? This one made me laugh out loud in Avon, Ohio. Thou shalt keep hands off women's health care. Chapter 4, verse 5, Book of Fallopians. In Seattle, only you can prevent fascist liars. We saw this one a bunch on Saturday. I've seen better cabinets at IKEA. And Cheyenne, Wyoming, oh, I love you. Hands off Medicare, Social Security, and Stormy Daniels. The reason I wanted to show all of those signs from these various protests is because some of them were very funny, but also because it shows you just a slice of how many different reasons people participated in these protests, how many different reasons people have to be mad at this administration and to be willing to stand up and protest against this administration. And if you're just thinking about how things are going to go in our country and what this means strategically, what it means baseline, whether or not you protested this weekend, whether or not you're even in sympathy with the people who protested this weekend, the huge variety of reasons people protested this weekend tells you that the proverbial tent of people allied against Donald Trump right now is really, really, really big. He's done enough in these 70, 80, whatever days to make a very large number of people mad at him and want to resist him for a million different reasons. And strategically, for the resistance against Trump, that's good. That's how you get more than 1,400 protests in all 50 states, including not one, but a bunch that hit 100,000 people or more. And in all of these protests, in all 50 states, there was no violence. There was no vandalism. There were no reported arrests of any protesters anywhere. In one town in Indiana, there was one report of one guy arrested who was a bystander, but then they let him go, and that was it. This was just a massive show of American people standing up peacefully saying, no way, nope, we are not having it. And no, we don't know what the direct impact of what these protests will be, what these protests will ultimately do. You almost never see that, right, as a direct consequence of a rally, right? You never know exactly what it's going to do. That said, there is a family that is coming home today to Sackett's Harbor in New York after almost that entire town showed up on Saturday to demand that they be returned. But everyone from Palm Beach Gardens near Trump's golf course in Florida to Anchorage, Alaska, to the huge crowd that turned out in Salem, Oregon, to the big crowd that turned out in Frankfort, Kentucky. I mean, look at this. To the huge crowd that we saw, massive crowd that we saw in Minnesota and St. Paul at the state capitol there. I can tell you one of the consequences of these people turning out in so many places this weekend and in such great numbers, one of the direct consequences we absolutely can measure is that everybody in all of these places knows that if they themselves are upset or worried or mad or scared about what this administration is doing, they know they are not alone. Mm-hmm. We, the whole country, know that the people are not just taking things lying down. The people are now proving that they will show up, and they will do it everywhere. and likely frequently. This is a point that I haven't heard made all that widely in the wake of these protests. But I think one of the important things strategically about the fact that this wasn't just one big protest in Washington, D.C. this weekend. I mean, it was a very big protest in Washington, D.C. It was over 100,000 people in Washington, which is a big deal. But the fact that it wasn't just Washington, that Washington was just one protest among many, is actually, I think, tactically one of the smart things that the organizers of this weekend's protest did. Because holding disparate protests all over the country, not just one big protest in one place, means that people can do this again and again and again. I mean, you look at really effective protest movements against rising authoritarianism in countries like Poland, where the population essentially rose up and took their democracy back through frequent mass protest. One of the things you realize about mass peaceful protest movements fighting against authoritarian takeover is that they have to stay peaceful and they have to be relentless. They have to frequently protest again and again and again. And it is hard and it is expensive to get yourself to travel to some faraway capital to protest if the protest is always in the capital. But it's not hard or expensive to get yourself to your town square, or to the downtown in the city nearest you, or maybe even to your state capital, even if you have to do it time after time after time. And when we have seen it work against rising authoritarians in European countries, and all over the world, frankly, it has been then the protests have been recurrent. And I believe that is what we are about to start seeing in the United States of America, because this was April 5th. But it looks like it's going to happen again in 2 weeks. On April 19th. Saw you there on Saturday. See you there 2 Saturdays from now. Sustainable, repetitive, peaceful, nonviolent, big tent, everyone welcome demonstrations with, yes, kids there, also dogs, also old people, also righteous indignation and fear and sadness. And also music and funny signs and a determination to outclass, to outlast, and to ultimately put down a would-be authoritarian revolution. Persistence. In Reuters Ipsos polling last week, the proportion of the American public who said they strongly identify with the MAGA movement is 11% of the population. The proportion of the American public who says they do not identify with the MAGA movement at all is 52% of the population. In the Marquette University poll that came out last week, Elon Musk's approval rating is underwater by 17 points. Americans say Trump's tariffs will hurt them rather than help them by a margin of 30 points. Americans say they are against Donald Trump closing the Department of Education by a margin of 30 points. Americans say they are against Trump's threats to annex Canada and make it the 51st state by a margin of 50 points. What Trump is doing and what he most wants to be known for is not popular, is deeply, deeply unpopular. But protesting against him sure looks like it's popular. Expect more of it. We got a lot to get to tonight. We've got the Supreme Court taking action on the bizarre Alien Enemies Act case. There's new fresh hell when it comes to what Trump is doing to Social Security and new fight back against it to talk about. We got a lot to get to tonight. Stay with us. You might remember on Friday, we showed you people protesting outside a federal courthouse in Maryland. That was during a court hearing on the case of a Maryland father, a man named Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He was driving to his mother's house with his nonverbal autistic 5-year-old son in the car with him when he was stopped and arrested. The Trump administration then flew him to a notorious high-security prison in El Salvador, despite a previous court order specifically forbidding them from sending him to that country. He's not known to be a member of this Venezuelan gang that Trump said he wanted to send all the gang members to that prison. He does not have a criminal record. The Trump administration has even admitted that they made a mistake by deporting him to that prison. But even
I'm going to stop right there and put a little bit of information that I don't think she goes and talks about. I never got that far, but this is part of it. Did you know that Trump is paying for to have these people stay down there? Now, isn't that wasteful? Why go and pay them to house them at another country? And now he's saying that he can't get back the person that is an American citizen back. So he don't care about anybody but Trump and money. But to pay them to keep these people there. What's the difference if they're being paid up here in America or paid to another country? Waste of money. Very, very wasteful. Okay, so let me get back to her. I do want to get to Brian's
So they argued that they were under no obligation to get him out and bring him back, nor did they intend to. Well, on Friday, as people protested outside, the judge in that Maryland courthouse ruled against the administration, saying that, in fact, they had to go get Kilmar Abrego Garcia and get him out of that prison and bring him back to the U.S. by 11:59 p.m. Eastern time tonight, Monday night. Then today, as we got closer and closer to that judge's deadline, the Trump administration went to the Fourth Circuit Federal Appeals Court to try to get the order to return Mr. Abrego Garcia put on hold. The appeals court did not give them what they wanted. Then they tried again. They appealed all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. Chief Justice John Roberts today did agree to put the looming midnight deadline tonight on hold, pending further action from the Supreme Court. So what that means specifically for right now is that the U.S. government doesn't have to bring Mr. Abrego Garcia back from El Salvador tonight by midnight. Who knows whether they were even trying to do so.
They're not going to.
Within the last couple of hours, we also got another decision from the Supreme Court on a different case involving the Trump administration flying people to that same prison in El Salvador. This was a case challenging the Trump administration's citation of a wartime power, the Alien Enemies Act, as their justification for flying people to that El Salvador prison. The Trump administration says they are gang members. Whether or not there's any evidence to support those claims, they said that the Alien Enemies Act allows them to send gang members to a foreign prison, even though it's not a wartime. We're not in wartime and we're not at war with that gang, but they've tried to piece it together as their justification for what they did there. Well, tonight in a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court decided that the Trump administration can fly people to that El Salvador prison using the Alien Enemies Act, but only if it notifies the people who are slated for deportation with enough time for them to challenge their removal in court. I said it was a 5-4 decision. The 3 liberal justices were in the minority here. Justice Amy Coney Barrett sided with the 3 liberal justices in this decision. We're still working out exactly what this will mean for people being deported under that Trump order. In her dissent, though, Justice Sonia Sotomayor made reference to Kilmar Abrego Garcia, writing, quote, "What if the government later determines that it sent one of these detainees to the Salvadoran prison in error? The government takes the position that even when it makes a mistake, it can't retrieve individuals from the Salvadoran prisons to which it has sent them. The implication of the government's position is that not only non-citizens, but also U.S. citizens could be taken off the streets, forced onto planes, and confined to foreign prisons with no opportunity for redress if judicial review is denied unlawfully before removal." Sotomayor says, quote, "History is no stranger to such lawless regimes. But this nation's system of laws is designed to prevent, not enable their rise." The Supreme Court also has ruled that any challenge to deportations under the Alien Enemies Act has to happen in the U.S. state where the person who's making the challenge is being confined, is being imprisoned. That may mean that the federal court case in Washington, D.C. in this matter is going to have to move to a new federal court in Texas. We shall see. ACLU attorney Lee
Yeah, why
Gallant, who has been handling this case on behalf of the ACLU, told us this tonight, quote, "We are disappointed that we will need to start the court process over again in a different venue," meaning Texas. But the critical point is that the court rejected the government's remarkable position that it doesn't even have to give individuals meaningful advance notice to challenge their removal under the Alien Enemies Act. Gallant says, quote, "That is a big victory." Joining us now is Simon Sandoval Moshenberg. He's the attorney for the man mistakenly deported from Maryland, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Mr. Sandoval Moshenberg, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Good to be here, Rachel.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. And I'm going to stop it right there. And here's the thing with it. No, sorry, guys. This new setup on StreamYard doesn't bring you right back. The thing with this that bothers me the most is our representatives are not helping us. I'm sorry, but they're not. As a United States citizen, if I was able to, and had the money, would go and put court cases against every one of those Republicans who are up there. I'd go and say, "Hey, I'm part of the government. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're all fired." Because you know what? You might have been voted in. You're collecting money from my account from the United States. You're fired. Just because you got voted in, it does not mean your vote stays there. You're not doing what the willing of the people want. We don't want to be, the same as 1938. But yet, our congressmen and all them are not helping us. We need to stand up. And people will say, "Well, you're not going to get people, not that." But there you go. It's proven. We, the people, will stand up. We, the people, are part of that Constitution contract. If Trump wants to keep trying to change our contract, let's go make our own regulations. Let's, as us people, go and stand up there and say, "Well, you want to do that? Well, here's what we want. You want to negotiate? Let's go. This is our country, not yours. You were just voted to run in it. But guess what? You're fired. Just because you got 4 years, but you're saying the Constitution's not right. So here's you go. If the Constitution is not right, you feel you got to go do all this, then let's go and do what we part of that contract is. We want to negotiate you the fuck out of our country." Yeah. Yeah. People are so stupid what tariffs are. I mean, Yep. Like I said, It's a contract. And he's been trying to bust down that contract. Well, let's go and get up to the front line and really work on that Constitution, that contract. Don't wait for our state senators and all them to do it. Stand up. Stand up. I don't know. I don't know how. I just know we need to. I know we need to go and really, as we the people, stand up for ourselves, because our government people are not that we've voted in. People have always said, well, they all need to be left gone. Well, you can't, empty the whole lot of them all at once. So we, the people, need to take back our government. How about we the people decided we want a new vote? How about we the people go and say what we want for our country? Not what our government wants to give us. I don't know about you, but I worked hard all my life, 2 and 3 jobs, just to make ends meet, to even live above poverty. And you know what? I think you'd find a lot of countries that would be here to back us for it too. Trump lovers. If he breaks one part of that, the Constitution, the whole thing is not worth anything. Go ask any lawyer. One part of the contract is broken. The contract is null and void. Yeah, you're right, Hector. Yeah. Give me a few seconds to look. You can talk in the chat. Let me look for Brian's thing about what Trump is doing to other countries. He's taking bribes. Or should I say, yeah, I'll drop your turf if you give me this. A bribe. So give me a few seconds. Talk amongst yourself. You know what's going on. Let's see. This is it. Okay, here we go. This is the one I want with him. Okay. Yeah, the stock market is way down because of Trump. And it's hurting. It's not just hurting our economy, it's hurting the world's economy. And he knows that. That's why he's trying to get all the money he can. I don't want a television personality running my country. I never did. But here we go. This is Brian. I always had got a problem saying his last name. Brian Tyler Cohen. Okay. Now he has a book out. He became New York best-selling list. He was #1. So I just want you to know that, he knows what he is talking about. There we go. And
News this week, I sat down with PodSafe America's Tommy Vitor to discuss the market crash, and data scientist Elliot Morris to discuss the implications of the Wisconsin Supreme Court race victory as we head toward midterms. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen, and you're watching No Lie. It's clear by now that Trump's imposition of tariffs has been a disaster. The market has crashed, wiping away all gains since Trump took office. Companies are laying off employees by the hundreds. Fears of a recession are reaching a fever pitch. And far from spooking other countries into coming to the negotiating table, they're actually going around the United States and entering into new trade agreements without us, including, by the way, with China. New reporting suggests that Japan and South Korea are teaming up with China to respond to our tariffs imposed by Trump, because that's apparently what we want right now. At a time when American superiority is threatened by China, Trump is driving other countries into the arms of China. But it's also true that Trump's uniquely and acutely aware of how damaging high costs can be. He himself admitted after the election that the reason that he won was because costs were too high. In fact, we've spoken about this for months. This global phenomenon of high inflation and therefore high costs is responsible for nearly every incumbent government across the globe losing majorities or outright losing power themselves. And so, given how disastrous these tariffs are on the economy, and given how potent the issue of high costs are, it would lend itself to reason that Trump would want to avoid this like the plague. Even for somebody who needs to protect his ego and can't bring himself to admit fault because he views any capitulation as a sign of weakness, even he can see how disastrous this is and should want to cut his losses as quickly as possible. So the question becomes, why barrel ahead? The answer is that Trump doesn't care, because what he stands to gain is greater than what he stands to lose. He wants blanket tariffs on every country in hopes that, in an effort to remove them, the countries each offer to give him something. And that something usually stands to benefit him personally. Like, think about where he's employed this strategy already. The law firms, for example. He imposes blanket punishment on them through his use of an executive order, and then one by one, they capitulate to get themselves off his bad side. And that capitulation includes giving him between $40 million and $100 million in pro bono legal services. And by the way, you better believe that they're also not going to go after him anymore in the courts. That means that he has neutralized them. He owns them. And in turn, one of the most damaging sectors for him, the courts, suddenly becomes a little bit more friendly. Or how about the news networks capitulating? You've got ABC News, possibly CBS doing the same thing with 60 Minutes, both involved in settling these frivolous lawsuits. You think those networks are going to be as hostile after paying him millions and millions of dollars? Probably not. How about the tech billionaires? You've got Mark Zuckerberg immediately revamping Meta's content moderation policies and moving its fact-checking from California to the much more neutral state of Texas. Jeff Bezos also neutered his own Washington Post. He spent $40 million on a Melania Trump documentary that I'm sure tens of people enjoyed watching. And we can go on, but it's the same strategy over and over. Trump preemptively targets the entities or people who threaten him, knowing that the only way they can crawl out of that hole that he's placed them in is if they capitulate and give him something that benefits him. It's worked with law firms and media companies and tech billionaires and universities, and now he's doing it with literally every country in the world. He wants them to beg, because whatever they give him in response to that begging will ultimately benefit him. This isn't just getting some university somewhere to capitulate. It is getting a world leader on behalf of an entire country that is valuable for him. Certainly more valuable as far as he's concerned than the pain that he's causing. Because remember, the pain that he's causing doesn't impact him. So at the end of the day, he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't need to rely on his 401k. He's not drawing from his 401k. He doesn't need to worry about high costs from the tariffs. He doesn't have to worry about the impacts to housing or rent or groceries or cars or electronics or food. None of that impacts him. He's a billionaire who doesn't pay for anything. You all suffering is a price that he's willing to have you pay. And so he'll wait for these other world leaders to petition the king and grovel with their offerings that will ultimately expand his own power and his own influence. All the while, we are the collateral damage. We all get thrown under the bus. 350 million people suffer so that one man can benefit. This is the story of Trump's presidency. Donald Trump looks out for one person, Donald Trump. But here comes the hopeful part. We are all wise to his plan. There's a reason, for example, that the Trump administration decided to revoke the nomination of Elise Stefanik to be UN ambassador. It's because they were afraid that Republicans would lose a seat in a district that Trump himself won by 21 points in November. And they saw what happened in Wisconsin, where Trump-endorsed conservative candidate Brad Schimmel lost by 10 points in a 50-50 state. They saw what happened in Florida, where even though Democrats lost 2 seats, they saw an average 16-point swing to the left. And now they have seen millions and millions of Americans take to the streets just this past weekend. And this matters. It matters because this administration derives its power from the perception that it is untouchable, that it can act with impunity. The fact that Americans are standing up and turning out and fighting back threatens all of that, threatens their entire power structure. I know that it doesn't feel like we have much to celebrate right now, but the energy, the momentum, and the enthusiasm is only on one side right now, and it's not Donald Trump's. Trump left office with probably one of the worst economic environments in modern American history, at a 2.5% contraction of the economy. The unemployment rate was at 6.3%.
Yep.
He had lost 2.9 million jobs. And people still do think back to the first Trump term with rose-colored glasses. And so do we risk being in a scenario where the same thing happens, where we are watching the stock market crash in real time and all of our trading partners alienate us around the world, and yet there is just such a massive disconnect between Earth One, where we all live, and what the Trump cult thinks about dear leader, that this might be a thing where it doesn't even stick, in very much the same way that people think that Trump presided over some gangbusters economy, when again, it was the worst economy that we'd had since, the Great Depression.
Yeah, look, there's risk. And also, we just don't know what could happen. There could be some exigent event that completely changes the conversation, that redefines our political reality, a terrorist attack, a natural disaster, God help us, right? Though, with respect to the economy in Trump's first term, I think most voters understand the pandemic was this once in a lifetime thing. And that is why the economy crashed. People got laid off. The economy contracted. The stock market went down, right? They didn't really blame him for that.
Yeah, they gave
in
him
this case,
that.
right. In this case, he is crushing the U.S. economy by choice.
Right.
And there's no hiding that.
That's the perfect point. I mean, this is the first recession that we will enter into that is both unilateral and completely voluntary.
Right.
And it's coming off the heels of a gangbusters economy that we were in, that was inherited by Joe Biden. I mean, we had God knows how many months of job growth and hundreds of thousands of jobs added on a monthly basis, around 4% unemployment, which is roughly at a 50-year low, and a record high stock market, and took all of those things and kind of threw them away because he decided that he wanted to feed his ego and try and show everybody that he's a tough guy.
Right.
And I think the most ironic part of all of this is he was so certain that every other world leader would capitulate because he has such a distorted perception of how the people around him act, because he is surrounded by the most groveling, sycophantic, obsequious hangers-on with their mouths latched onto his ass. And so that really screws with how somebody perceives the people around them. And then he comes across people like Emmanuel Macron and Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, and they're like, fuck this guy.
Yeah. I mean, one thing Trump has done is reawaken nationalism in a lot of countries where we hadn't seen it in a while. The Canadians are furious, and they should be. I mean, he's joking about annexing the country. He's literally trying to crush their economy through tariffs. So these people hate him. And the political incentives for someone like Mark Carney are to fight Trump tooth and nail, to not cut a deal, to look tough. And so, I think,
and by the way, he is almost single-handedly rescuing the Liberal Party in Canada.
He has, absolutely. Yes, Trudeau was dead in the water. People thought the Conservatives were going to win by 10 or 20 points, and now it's a dead heat. And I do think, the other opportunity here for us is, despite all of Trump's inroads with blue-collar workers and his man of the people bullshit, the guy has 13 billionaires in his cabinet. He spends his weekends at his private golf club. Right now, I think he is at a Saudi-run live golf event at his club instead of attending a dignified transfer ceremony for 4 U.S. service members who were killed overseas in Lithuania in a training accident. It's moments like that that tell us who this guy is, and those are the ones we have to uplift and make sure that voters who don't pay attention to politics actually see them.
So I want to dig into what we saw yesterday. Obviously, we had a few elections, Wisconsin and Florida. So what does the Democratic overperformance look like? And what does that tell us more broadly about the political environment that we're in right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. These special elections and off-year elections are helpful because they can point us to trends we might see in the midterms. So it's a good thing to focus on. In Florida, we saw 2 congressional district special elections last night to fill districts that were vacated. In the first district, there's a 16 percentage point overperformance for Democrats. So what that means is that Donald Trump won one of those districts by 30 points last year. The Republican candidate only won by 14 last night. So that's a 16-point swing in that district. In the next one, there was a 22-point shift, and that was in a redder district, Florida's first congressional district. So what we're seeing here,
which is Matt Gaetz's former district, by the way.
Gaetz's former district. That's right. The other one is vacated by Mike Waltz. So what we're seeing here is that there's some change in the electorate. Either people are changing their mind against the administration. We can talk about why, or Republicans aren't turning out as much as they were previously, or some combination of the two. We also saw this last night in the Wisconsin Supreme Court race, where Susan Crawford beat Brad Schimmel by about 10 points in the final count, which is also an 11-point shift from 2024 when Kamala Harris lost it by 1 point. So in the Wisconsin race, more Republican precincts in the state had much lower turnout. So those Republicans, we think, are just tuning out from the electorate, giving Democrats the ability to do well. And even in Democratic areas, the Democrats and liberal candidates are overperforming.
And how did those relate to what we saw last week? I know we don't have a lot of data points here, but we do have Florida and Wisconsin yesterday. Last week, we had 2 special elections in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is generally a pretty good state to glean some information from because it's a battleground state.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, at this point, we have data from both battlegrounds, Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. In this Pennsylvania district, I believe Senate District 36, that's the state legislative district, the Democratic candidate also did 16 points better than Kamala Harris did in 2024. So we have data from those swing districts. And then we also have data from a very, very red state, red districts in a red state, Florida. And they're all showing the same thing, which is a combination of Republicans tuning out from politics, tuning out from supporting the administration. I mean, if they don't vote, like you can say maybe they'll vote next time, but they're not voting. And that's the important thing right now. And that's the important thing for the midterms. And then you also see independents and Democrats.
Okay, there we go, guys. Oh shoot, this yes. Okay, guys. For you Trumpers out there, if you do not go in and really understand what is going on, don't tell me, a Democrat, that, hey, if things are going to get better in that. Because I personally would laugh at you. That you will not use your own brain cells to figure out that the scales are like this. Okay? This is us, America. This is Trump way up there, stealing anything and everything, killing us. Well, that, you're right, Shirley. That's exactly what it is. Here's the thing. Do you see his family saying anything anymore? Where's his family? That says a lot when your family's not backing you. I mean, you got 2 dumb sons, one cocaine head, and the other one is just in la la land. Just think about it. Annie even turned on his Elon. Come on. The guy gave you all this money to win the campaign. To win. Turns around. I mean, he was still he was taking all the money out of all our accounts that got all our personal information. And Trump goes and sits on the turfs, and that hurts Tesla. Elon, whatever his name is. Stop and think about that one. So you're still for Trump? Hey, you know what? I got some bridges. I'll sell you, no problem. It's a Trump bridge. Do you want it? Oh, he walked on it. You know, you could say, oh, I got the bridge that Trump walked on. Yeah. And if you don't understand the bridge saying, it is, I don't own the Brooklyn Bridge, but I'll sell it to you. There you go. So, for those who are with Trump, you sold out your soul. You sold out yourself. You sold out American. I don't want to be a business. I want my country. I want to be faithful to my country. Now, when I started this, I started bringing up the passport situation. What's that have to do with it? Well, the passport numbers have gone up and up and up and up. People are getting ready to leave. They don't want to be in a dictator country. And guess what, people? Not every country wants you. So you better be careful. You might get into a country you can't get out and put into their prison. Because remember, you don't have no rights over there. You do as they say. They have the rights. So, as American citizens, we are on a catch-22. We live in this, through all this. High crimes are going to get up. People are going to kill us. I'm doing fine, Christine. Yeah, he does want a war, Shirley, so he can steal more money from us. Yeah, you're right, Christine. He is not just attacking our country. He's attacking all the other countries. And that's what Brian he was saying was with those turfs. He put them on there. So, okay, UK, what are you going to give me if I take the turfs off of you? Now, to me, that's taking a bribe. That's taking a bribe, period. That's treason to me. Because you are selling out America. Yes, he is a greedy racist. He belongs in the jail where P. Diddy is. No presidential, special room for him. Yeah, he should have been. Well, you know what? Here's the whole thing, Kristen. He stole classified information. Period. That's treason. That's treason. He was showing people classified files and that. He raped a woman. He bought every Supreme Court justice. Yeah. I did step back from this for a while because I figured, well, maybe you need to step back and just calm down and all that. But it was bothering me. I keep up with it. I want to be informed. I might not remember all the things I need to remember, but I do keep up with it. I do watch a lot about politics. Why? Because of things like this. I don't want to say, hey, I didn't do nothing because, they're going to do what they want to do. Is that what your forefathers said? No. That's why we are who we are. We stood up for ourselves. We don't want that. Now we got to stand up again. And this time we have to stand up against our government. For those ones, all those other, the politicians out, y'all are a lot more smarter than I am. Let's get them out. Let's not just stop on what he wants to do. Let's honestly take the time and get them one out by one by one. Because we are the people, we hold part of that contract, we fire you. You did not honor all of us. You honored the few. And you're going to say, well, you took votes. No, that was a rigged vote. You know how it was rigged? Because Trump was saying it was rigged. No one listens to him when he says things. And there's, oh, no, he was just joking and all that. No. Did you see a laugh or a smile after he says things? No, he's very serious. He does not laugh. He'll laugh when you fell down. He'll laugh at that and call you a stupid ass bitch. That kind of thing. People need to really listen to other people. Not fight what they're saying. Listen to what they have to say. And I'll guarantee they're not going to listen to what you have to say. Then they're not paying attention. They're self-absorbed people. Self-absorbed people don't listen to others. Be right or wrong. You still need to honestly listen to other people, what they have to say. You always can learn something new about something. Yep. Trump's just a showman. I won't call him that the honor of he's holding that position because he's not mine. No. He is a narcissistic. He is not mine. I would say he is the lowest scum of a pond water. And if I could go down further, no words that would sound further than that, I would say it. Because he is not a man. If you shot him and I seen you, didn't see nothing. No. Oh, you want my phone? Oh, you want my phone? Wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. What do you want? You ain't getting it. I would back that person that shot him. I know that's not right. I don't believe in guns. You have the right to have your guns. You have the right to use your guns. I fully believe in the Constitution. I believe I don't have to have a gun. So don't put me in where I'm against guns. I'm not. Pee on him? Yeah. Yes. I'm not going to be on here very long more, Shirley, too. Honestly, I would never say, we've had a lot of bad presidents. We've had a lot of bad politicians, and that nothing like this. And you know what? He's doing it to all in front of our eyes, guys. All front. He's not slipping behind or anything. He's telling it straight out. And you want to agree with that? Yeah, I'm going to be going right now too. But much love, Shirley and Lucy and anybody else that's still here. Love and respect. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I might say some more. I just don't want to put myself back down. Did I have to get so angered to keep you informed? Because you're not going to believe me. You're not going to watch me, but at least I know I'm trying to do something. I might not be doing much, but I'm doing something. I'm speaking my mind. I'm a U.S. citizen. I have the right to free speech. Oh, by the way, yeah, Trump is taking your free speech away. They've been doing book burnings down in Florida. They're doing it that you can't speak what you want to speak about anymore. You speak bad about someone, about the president or any of them, they can lock you up. So keep an eye out for the U.S., for the United States. Start, please start caring about America, about you, about your neighbor. Because if you have your neighbor's back, your neighbor will have your back. If you feel that neighbor's not going to have your back, then just be watchful that they don't go and stab you in the back. Because all those who voted for Trump stabbed all of us in the back. So, okay, good night. May today be a better day than yesterday. Much love, respect. Oh, I want to do something. Night, everybody.